Maya Torres stood in the white room and watched the alien judges through thick glass. Her hands stayed at her sides, but her eyes moved between each creature sitting at the long table. The biggest one had blue skin and 4 arms. His name was Vec, and he led the group that would decide if humans could fight in space wars. The room smelled like metal and cleaning chemicals. Maya had been waiting for 2 hours while the aliens looked at charts and pictures of human bodies. They spoke in their own language, but her brain implant translated everything they said. She did not like what she heard. Vec picked up a tablet and pointed at a picture of the human skeleton. He spoke to the other judges in a voice that sounded like grinding rocks. The translator turned his words into something Maya could understand. "Look at these creatures," Vec said. "They have no natural weapons, no claws or teeth that can cut through armor, no poison glands to kill enemies from inside, no hard shell to protect them from bullets." He turned the tablet around so the others could see better. "They are soft and slow. Their reaction time is much worse than ours." Maya felt her jaw muscles tighten. She had spent 15 years in Earth's Special Forces. She had fought in wars on 3 different planets. Her kill count was higher than most of the aliens in this room would ever see. But they looked at her like she was a child with a toy gun. Another judge spoke up. "This one looked like a giant bug with 6 legs and sharp mandibles." "What about their intelligence?" it asked. "The reports say they are good at making plans." Vec nodded slowly. "Yes, their brains work well for thinking about problems, but thinking is not fighting. In real combat you need speed. You need to kill the enemy before they kill you. These humans are too slow for that kind of work." A third judge made a sound like static electricity. It was one of the energy beings that could shoot lightning from their bodies. "Perhaps they could help with supply work," it suggested. "Moving equipment and maintaining weapons." Maya watched them discuss her entire species like they were talking about buying tools. Every few minutes one of them would look at her through the glass and shake their head. She kept her face blank, but inside she was getting angry. The testing had been unfair from the start. They made her run through obstacle courses designed for creatures with 4 legs. They tested her reaction time against beings whose nervous systems worked with electricity instead of chemicals. They measured her strength against aliens who had evolved on planets with twice Earth's gravity. When she tried to show them what humans could do with weapons and tools, they said it did not count. "Natural abilities only," Vec had told her. "Anyone can use a gun. We want to see what your species can do without help." Maya had wanted to laugh at that. She had wanted to ask them why they wore armor if natural abilities were so important. Why did they use spaceships instead of flying through space with their own bodies? But she kept quiet and did what they asked. Now they were making their decision. Vec stood up and looked directly at her through the glass. His 4 eyes blinked one at a time as he spoke. "The human species will be accepted into the Galactic Defense Coalition," he announced. "However, they will be limited to support roles. Only no human will be assigned to combat units or rapid response teams. Their slow kill rate makes them unsuitable for frontline fighting." The other judges nodded and made marks on their tablets. Maya's species had just been classified as 2. Weak and slow to be trusted with real fighting. They would be stuck doing paperwork and moving boxes while the real warriors handled the dangerous work. A door opened and a smaller alien walked in. It had green skin and looked somewhat like a lizard walking on 2 legs. This was Commander Vex, who would give Maya her assignment. "Lieutenant Commander Torres," Vex said in accented English. "You will report to Supply Station Omega 7 in the Kepler system. Your job will be managing ammunition distribution for the fleet." Maya saluted properly. "Yes, sir. When do I leave?" "Tomorrow morning. Transport will pick you up at 0800 hours. Vex looked at his tablet and then back at her. "I know this is not what you hoped for, but the Council's decision is final. Humans are not built for fast combat operations." After Vex left, Maya stood alone in the white room. Through the glass, she could see the judges packing up their materials. They had spent less than 5 minutes deciding that her entire species was too slow to matter in real fights. She thought about her old unit back on Earth, Rodriguez, who could put 3 bullets in a target's chest before most people could draw. Their weapons. Kim, who had once cleared an entire building of enemies in under 2 minutes. Davis, who could move through a forest so quietly that animals did not notice him until he was close enough to touch them. All of them would be assigned to supply work now. All of them would be kept away from combat because aliens who had never seen humans fight decided they were too slow. Maya walked to the transport area where other humans were waiting. They all had the same look on their faces. Disappointment mixed with anger. They had all been hoping to prove what humans could do in space wars. Instead, they were being sent to count bullets and fix equipment. She sat down next to another human, a woman about her own age with short black hair. "Supply depot?" the woman asked. "Supply depot," Maya confirmed. "You? Medical station?" "They said humans are too slow for combat medicine too. We might make mistakes under pressure." Maya almost laughed. Human combat medics were famous for working under impossible conditions. They had saved lives while bombs exploded around them and bullets flew overhead. But the aliens thought they were too slow to handle pressure. The transport arrived, and Maya climbed aboard with the other humans. As the ship lifted off, she looked down at the council building getting smaller below them. The aliens had made their decision based on charts and tests. They had never seen humans fight for real. Maya hoped they would never have to. But if they did, she had a feeling the galaxy was about to learn something new about what humans could do. When they stopped trying to prove themselves and started trying to survive, the ship turned toward the stars, and Maya settled back in her seat. She had been assigned to count ammunition. The aliens thought that was all she was good for. They were about to find out how wrong they could be. 3 months had passed since Maya started working on the supply station. Every day was the same. She checked inventory lists, counted ammunition boxes, and filled out reports that no one seemed to read. The alien workers treated her like she was invisible. When they talked to her at all, they spoke slowly, like she might not understand basic words. The worst part was watching the combat ships come and go. Elite alien warriors would stride through the station wearing their battle armor and carrying weapons that could cut through steel. They never looked at Maya or the other humans. To them, the humans were just part of the furniture. Maya had asked for transfer to active duty 17 times. Each request came back with the same response. Human personnel are not cleared for combat operations due to biological limitations. The only alien who treated her with respect was Dr. Korvac, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes. He worked in the medical bay, and sometimes Maya would help him organize supplies. Unlike the others, he actually listened when she talked. "I have been studying human anatomy," he told her one evening as they sorted medical equipment. "Your nervous system is quite interesting. The speed of your neural pathways is actually better than most species we have tested." Maya looked up from the box of surgical tools she was organizing. "Tell that to the council. They think we are too slow to be useful in real fights." Dr. Korvac's 4 eyes blinked, and what Maya had learned was his way of showing confusion. "Their testing methods are flawed. They measure the wrong things. Speed is not just about reaction time. It is about efficiency, about making the right choice quickly. Try explaining that to command," Maya said. She sealed the box and moved it to the storage rack. "They have made up their minds. Humans are good for counting supplies and nothing else." Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. The station's communication system crackled to life with an announcement from the fleet command ship. "All personnel, this is Captain Voss of the Eternal Vigilance. We have detected separatist activity at Mining Station Beta 7. Elite strike team will deploy for boarding operations. All support staff prepare for potential casualties." Maya rushed to the observation deck with Dr. Korvac through the large windows. They could see the massive battleship Eternal Vigilance moving away from the station. Its hull bristled with weapons, and its docking bays were open, ready to launch the strike team. "Another separatist operation," Dr. Korvac said quietly. These rebels are becoming more bold. Maya watched the ship disappear into hyperspace. Somewhere out there, alien warriors were preparing to board an enemy station and capture or kill everyone inside. It was exactly the kind of operation she had trained for her entire adult life. Instead, she would be here, preparing medical supplies and waiting for casualty reports. I should be with them, she said without thinking. Dr. Korvac turned his 4 eyes toward her. You really believe you could help? I know I could. Maya's hands clenched into fists. I spent 15 years doing exactly this kind of work. Boarding. Operations, close quarters combat, clearing hostile buildings. But the council thinks I am too slow. Perhaps, Dr. Korvac said carefully. The council does not understand what speed really means. 2 hours later, Maya was back in the supply office filling out inventory reports when the first distress signal came through. The strike team was in trouble? The boarding operation had gone wrong somehow, and they were taking heavy casualties. Maya listened to the radio chatter as she worked. The elite alien warriors were pinned down inside the mining station. The separatists had been ready for them. Automated defenses were tearing apart the attack force. Species that were supposed to be naturally superior fighters were being killed by enemies who understood their weaknesses. Supply Command, this is Acting Captain Siren, came a voice over the radio. Prepare casualty receiving stations. We may need to evacuate the strike team. Maya stood up from her desk. Through the supply office window she could see medical personnel running toward the docking bay. Dr. Korvac was among them. Directing the setup of emergency treatment areas, she walked to the radio console and switched to the command frequency. Supply Command to Fleet Command. Lieutenant Commander Torres requesting permission to join the rescue operation. There was a long pause before Acting Captain Siran replied. Negative, Commander Torres. Human personnel are not rated for combat. Operations, return to your duties. Maya stared at the radio. Below, she could hear the alien warriors' situation getting worse. More fighters were being wounded or killed. The separatists were winning because they had studied their enemies well. They knew how to counter each alien species' natural advantages, but they had never fought humans. Fleet Command, this is Torres again. I am not requesting combat assignment. I am requesting permission to provide technical support through the station's maintenance systems. It was a careful way of saying she could get to places the big alien warriors could not reach. Their size and reliance on natural weapons made them poor choices for crawling through air ducts and service tunnels. Another pause. Commander Torres, your mission would be reconnaissance only? No direct engagement with enemy forces. You will report positions and provide intelligence data only. Maya was already moving toward the equipment locker. Understood, Fleet Command, reconnaissance only. She pulled on light combat armor and checked her weapons. The aliens wanted her to just look around and report what she saw. They still did not understand what humans were capable of when the people they cared about were in danger. Dr. Korvac appeared in the doorway. As she was loading ammunition into her rifle. Maya, what are you doing? My job, she said without looking up. The way it should have been done from the beginning. But they said reconnaissance only. You are not authorized for combat. Maya looked at him with eyes that had seen too many friends die in wars. Sometimes reconnaissance and combat are the same thing. Sometimes the best way to gather intelligence is to remove the people who might interfere with your mission. Dr. Korvac's 4 eyes went wide. You are planning to kill them all. I am planning to save our people, Maya corrected. If some separatists happen to get in the way of that mission, well, that is just unfortunate for them. She finished checking her equipment and headed for the shuttle bay. Behind her, Dr. Korvac was probably already calling Fleet Command to report what she had said. It did not matter. By the time they could stop her, she would already be on the mining station. The shuttle pilot was a young alien who looked nervous about flying into a combat zone. Maya climbed into the passenger seat and strapped herself in. Take me to the mining station, she ordered. But Commander, the area is under fire. It is not safe. Maya looked at him with the same expression she had used on rookie soldiers who questioned orders. "Son, I have been in more firefights than you have had hot meals. Get me to that station or I will find someone who can." The shuttle lifted off and headed toward the battle. Maya checked her weapons one more time and reviewed the station blueprints on her tablet. The aliens thought she was too slow to fight. They were about to learn the difference between being slow and being thorough. In her experience, the enemy was usually dead before they realized how fast the threat was moving. Maya's shuttle docked at the mining station's emergency port while weapons fire echoed through the metal corridors. The pilot was shaking as she climbed out of her seat and grabbed her equipment bag. "Stay here and keep the engines running," she told him. "If I'm not back in 1 hour, leave without me." The young alien's eyes went wide. "Commander, you cannot go in there alone. The strike team has been pinned down for over an hour. There are too many enemies." Maya checked her rifle one more time and looked at him with a slight smile. "Son, I have been outnumbered before. The trick is to make sure the enemy does not realize how outnumbered they are." She opened the airlock and stepped into the station. The emergency corridor was empty, but she could hear fighting somewhere deeper in the facility. Her unit crackled with desperate reports from the strike team. "Strike Leader Voss to Fleet Command," came a strained voice. "We are trapped in Section C, heavy casualties. The Separatists have prepared countermeasures for all our standard attack patterns." Maya switched off her beacon so the Separatists could not track her signal. She pulled up the station blueprints on her tablet and studied the layout. The main corridors were wide enough for the big alien warriors, but they led straight into kill zones. The Separatists had set up crossfire positions at every intersection, but there was another way through the station. Maintenance tunnels ran parallel to the main corridors, connecting every section of the facility. They were too small for most aliens, but perfect for a human who knew how to move quietly. Maya found the nearest access panel and pried it open with her combat knife. The tunnel beyond was dark and cramped, but she had crawled through worse places. She pulled herself inside and began moving toward the sound of gunfire. The maintenance tunnels were a maze of pipes, cables, and ventilation ducts. Maya navigated by memory and instinct, following the station's blueprint in her mind. Every few meters, she stopped to listen, identifying the positions of friends and enemies by the sound of their weapons. Through thin access panels, she could see Separatist fighters moving through the corridors. They were well-equipped and disciplined, nothing like the desperate rebels the Council had described. These were professional soldiers who had studied their enemy carefully. She watched a group of 6 Separatists setting up a heavy weapon position. They moved with military precision, each one knowing exactly what to do. Their leader was giving orders through a headset, coordinating with other teams throughout the station. Maya made note of their positions and continued deeper into the facility. The strike team was trapped in Section C, surrounded by enemies who knew every advantage the alien warriors possessed. The bug-like soldiers could not use their natural weapons in the narrow spaces. The crystal beings found their sonic attacks disrupted by acoustic dampeners. Even the energy creatures were having trouble with the station's modified electromagnetic fields. The Separatists had done their homework. They knew exactly how to counter each alien species' strengths. But they had never fought humans before. Maya reached the central command room through a ventilation shaft. She looked down through the air grate and saw 5 Separatist officers gathered around a tactical display. They were tracking the strike team's movements and coordinating the defense of the station. She studied their positions for 30 seconds, memorizing where each one stood and what weapons they carried. Then she removed the air grate and dropped silently into the room. The first Separatist died before he knew she was there. Maya's knife found the gap in his armor at the base of his neck. The second one started to turn, but her thrown blade caught him in the throat. The third had time to reach for his weapon before a single shot from her pistol dropped him. The fourth Separatist was reaching for an alarm button when Maya's knife found his spine. The fifth, a tall alien with blue skin like Captain Voss, had time to see his dead comrades before Maya put a bullet through his brain. 5 enemies dead in less than 8 seconds. No alarms, no radio calls, no warning to the rest of the station. Maya wiped her knife clean and moved to the command console. The tactical display showed her everything she needed to know. 57 separatist fighters were scattered throughout the station. With heavy concentrations in sections B and D, the strike team was trapped in section C. With only 12 survivors out of the original 30-member force, Maya downloaded the station's defensive protocols and began shutting down the automated systems that had been plaguing the alien warriors. Blast doors unlocked, poison gas stopped flowing, and weapon turrets went offline. The Separatists' carefully prepared defenses were crumbling, but she was not finished. The main armory was in Section A, where the Separatists were storing their heavy weapons. If she could reach it, she could cut off their supply of ammunition and explosives. Maya moved through the maintenance tunnels towards Section A. The armory was guarded by 12 soldiers, all alert and heavily armed. She studied their positions. From the crawlspace above, noting their patrol patterns and overlapping fields of fire, any alien warrior would consider this an impossible situation. Too many enemies, too much firepower, too little cover. The Council would say it proved that humans were too slow and weak for this kind of work. Maya dropped a flashbang grenade into the center of the room and followed it down. The explosion filled the armory with blinding light and deafening noise. The Separatist guards staggered, their senses overwhelmed. Maya moved through them like a ghost. Her rifle speaking in controlled bursts, she used the confusion to her advantage, moving from cover to cover while the enemies tried to figure out what was happening. When they got too close, her sidearm appeared in her hand. When they tried to flank her, her knife found their weak points. She turned their own equipment against them, using ammunition crates as cover and ricochet shots to reach enemies behind barriers. 12 guards. 18 seconds. The armory fell silent except for the ringing echoes of gunfire. Maya stood among the bodies, reloading her weapons with practiced efficiency. She had taken no wounds and made no wasted movements. Every shot had been necessary. Every action calculated for maximum effect. She moved to the weapon storage area and began setting charges. The Separatists had collected an impressive arsenal of military hardware, but it would not help them anymore. Maya's explosives would destroy everything they could not carry. As she worked, her comm unit crackled with reports from the strike team. With the automated defenses offline, the alien warriors were finally able to move. But they were still outnumbered and outgunned. "Strike Leader Voss to Fleet Command," came the captain's voice. "We are advancing through Section B. Resistance is lighter than before. Something has changed." Maya smiled grimly as she finished placing the last charge. Something had changed indeed. The Separatists were about to learn what happened when humans stopped playing by the rules. She left the armory and headed for Section B, where the heaviest concentration of enemy fighters was waiting. The maintenance tunnels took her directly above their positions. Through access panels, she could see them preparing defensive positions, setting up crossfires in the corridors. They were good soldiers, Maya admitted. Professional, disciplined, well-equipped. Under normal circumstances, they would have been a formidable opponent for any military force. But these were not normal circumstances. Maya had stopped trying to prove that humans deserved respect. Now, she was simply doing what humans did best. Adapting to the situation and finding ways to win, she moved through the tunnels above the enemy positions, marking targets and planning her assault. The Separatists were focused on the corridors where they expected the alien warriors to appear. They had no idea that death was crawling through the ceiling above them. Maya reached the central hub of Section B and looked down at the Separatist command post. 8 officers were coordinating the defense, their backs turned to the ventilation grate where she waited. They were so confident in their prepared positions that they had not bothered to guard against threats from above. She checked her equipment one more time. Rifle loaded, sidearm ready, knife sharp. The Separatists thought they were fighting slow, predictable aliens who relied on natural weapons. They were about to discover what humans could do when they stopped holding back. Maya removed the ventilation grate and prepared to drop into the command post. The officers below were still focused on their tactical displays. tracking the alien warriors. Slow progress through the outer corridors. They never saw her coming. The explosion of gunfire that followed echoed through Section B like thunder. Maya moved through the command post like a force of nature, her weapons finding targets with mechanical precision. The Separatist officers died where they stood. Their carefully coordinated defense crumbling in seconds. She grabbed their communication equipment and switched to the Separatist frequency. Throughout the station, enemy fighters were calling for orders, asking what was happening to their command structure. Maya spoke into the microphone in perfect Separatist dialect, something she had learned during her intelligence training. All units, this is command. Execute Withdrawal Plan 7. Repeat, execute Withdrawal Plan 7. Confusion spread through the Separatist ranks as conflicting orders came over their radios. Some units began falling back while others held their positions. The carefully coordinated defense became chaos. Maya moved through the maintenance tunnels toward her next target. The Separatists had prepared for everything except a single human who refused to fight fair. They were about to learn that humans did not win wars by being honorable. They won by being more ruthless than their enemies could imagine. Maya moved through the station like a nightmare given form. The Separatists' carefully planned defense was collapsing as she eliminated their command structure piece by piece. Each dead officer meant more confusion, more chaos, more opportunities for her to strike. She reached Section D through the maintenance tunnels where the Separatists had positioned their heaviest weapons. 15 fighters were manning anti-ship cannons that could punch through the hull of a battleship. They were the final line of defense, the last hope of stopping the alien strike team. Maya studied their positions from the crawlspace above. The weapons were too big to move quickly and the crews were focused on the main corridors. They expected the alien warriors to come charging through the front door like they always did. Instead, Maya dropped into their midst like death itself. The first crew never knew what hit them. Maya's rifle spoke 3 times and 3 Separatists fell dead beside their weapon. The second crew turned toward the gunfire, but she was already moving, her knife finding one guard's throat while her sidearm put bullets in the other 2. The third crew had time to swing their heavy weapon toward her, but Maya was behind them now, her rifle chattering as she cut them down. The fourth crew died trying to reach the alarm button. The fifth crew managed to get off one shot before Maya's grenades turned their position into burning wreckage. 15 fighters dead in less than 30 seconds. The heavy weapons that could have destroyed the rescue ships were silent now. Their crews scattered across the deck. Maya's unit crackled with reports from the strike team. Strike Leader Voss to Fleet Command. We are advancing through Section C. Resistance has collapsed. Repeat, Separatist resistance has collapsed. She smiled grimly as she reloaded her weapons. The alien warriors thought they were winning through their own superior fighting skills. They had no idea that a single human had been clearing the way. For them, Maya moved toward the final objective, the station's main reactor, room where the Separatist leaders were making their last stand. Intelligence reports said there were at least 20 fighters guarding the reactor, including several wearing powered armor that could stop most small arms fire. She reached the reactor room through a coolant pipe that ran directly into the chamber. The Separatists had barricaded the main entrances, but they had not thought to guard the maintenance access points. Maya could hear their voices echoing in the large space as she prepared to emerge. "Command is not responding," one of them was saying. "We have lost contact with sections A, B, and D." "Impossible," another voice replied. "The alien strike team is still trapped in Section C. They could not have reached those areas." Maya smiled as she listened to their confusion. They still thought they were fighting a conventional military force that followed predictable patterns. They had no idea that one human with the right training could tear apart their entire operation. She emerged from the coolant pipe behind a large reactor housing. The Separatists were spread throughout the chamber, some in powered armor, others manning portable weapons. Their leader was a tall alien with silver skin who stood near the reactor controls. Maya took careful aim and began her assault. The first shot took down the leader before he could give orders. The second and third shots eliminated the 2 fighters. In powered armor, her bullets finding the weak points in their helmet joints. The fourth shot destroyed a portable weapon that 3 separatists were trying to set up. Chaos erupted in the reactor room as the remaining fighters tried to locate the threat. Maya moved between the reactor housings like a ghost, appearing long enough to kill an enemy before vanishing again. Her rifle spoke in measured bursts, each shot finding its target with surgical precision. The separatists fired wildly at shadows and echoes, their shots ricocheting off the reactor housing while Maya picked them off one by one. They had trained to fight alien warriors who relied on brute force and natural weapons. They had no defense against a human who used the environment itself as a weapon. One by one, the separatists fell. Maya's knife found throats in the darkness. Her sidearm appeared in her hand when enemies got too close. Her grenades turned cover into death traps. She moved through the reactor room like a force of nature, unstoppable and merciless. The last separatist tried to surrender, dropping his weapon and raising his hands. Maya put a bullet through his brain without hesitation. She had learned long ago that mercy was a luxury that got good people killed, 20 fighters dead in less than 2 minutes. The reactor room fell silent except for the hum of machinery and the distant sound of the strike team finally reaching the station's central hub. Maya checked her ammunition and found she had used less than half her supply. The separatists had been well trained and well equipped, but they had made the same mistake as everyone else. They had underestimated what humans could do. When they stopped playing by the rules, she moved to the station's communication center and activated the emergency broadcast system. Her voice echoed through every speaker on the station as she spoke in clear, simple words. "This is Lieutenant Commander Maya Torres of the Galactic Defense Coalition. All separatist forces on this station are dead. I repeat, all separatist forces are dead. Any remaining personnel have 60 seconds to surrender, or you will join them." The station fell silent. Maya counted off the seconds in her head as she waited for a response. At 55 seconds, 3 separatist technicians emerged from a storage room with their hands raised. They were engineers, not fighters, and they had been hiding since the shooting started. Maya zip-tied their hands and left them in the corridor for the strike team to find. She checked her watch and smiled. From the time she had entered the station to the moment she made the surrender announcement, exactly 23 minutes had passed. The alien warriors had spent over an hour trapped in Section C, unable to advance, against an enemy that knew all their weaknesses. Maya had cleared the entire station in less than half that time. Her comm unit crackled with Captain Voss's voice. "Torres, this is Strike Leader Voss. What is your status?" "Station secured, Captain. All objectives accomplished. 3 prisoners for interrogation, ready for pickup." And there was a long pause before Voss replied. "Torres, how many human operatives were deployed to this station?" Maya looked around at the bodies scattered throughout the reactor room. "Just 1, Captain." "Just 1." Another pause. "Understood. Strike team is en route to your position. Excellent work, Commander." Maya holstered her weapons and waited for the alien warriors to find her. They would arrive expecting to see evidence of a major battle involving multiple human operators. Instead, they would find one woman standing calmly among the bodies of her enemies. She had proven something today, though she was not sure the aliens would understand what it meant. Speed was not about reaction time or natural weapons. Speed was about efficiency, about making the right choice quickly and executing it perfectly. The separatists had prepared for everything except a human who refused to fight the way they expected. They had studied alien warriors who relied on natural advantages and predictable tactics. They had never faced someone who could adapt, improvise, and overcome any obstacle through sheer skill and determination. The strike team found her 15 minutes later, their weapons ready and their eyes wide with disbelief. They stared at the carnage around them, trying to understand how one human had accomplished what 30 alien warriors could not. Maya looked at them with the same calm expression she had worn in 100 other battles. "Gentlemen, the station is secure. Shall we head home?" The alarm finally rang 23 minutes after Maya had entered the station. By then, every Separatist fighter was already dead, and the 3 survivors were zip-tied in the corridor waiting for pickup. The automated system had been programmed to sound the alert when intruders were detected, but Maya had moved too fast for the sensors to track her properly. Captain Voss stood in the station's central hub, surrounded by the evidence of Maya's work. Bodies lay where they had fallen, each one killed with surgical precision. Weapons were scattered across the floor, their owners never having had the chance to use them effectively. How many humans were deployed? Voss asked again, his voice filled with disbelief. Acting Captain Ciron's reply came through the CUM system with obvious shock. Just 1, Captain. Commander Torres eliminated the entire defensive network by herself. The alien warriors who had survived the initial assault stared at Maya with something approaching awe. She stood among the dead Separatists, not even breathing heavily, her weapons cleaned and holstered. Her armor showed no signs of damage, and she moved with the same calm efficiency she had shown in the supply depot. "Station secured," she reported, in a matter-of-fact tone. "All objectives accomplished. 3 prisoners for interrogation, ready for pickup." Dr. Korvac was among the medical team that boarded the station to treat wounded strike team members. He found Maya in the reactor room, calmly checking the bodies to make sure none of them were still alive. "The speed of execution," he whispered, his 4 eyes wide with amazement. "I have never seen anything like it." Maya looked at him with tired eyes. "This is what humans do when our people are in danger. We adapt, we overcome, and we make sure the threat is eliminated." "But the Council said your species was too slow for combat operations." "The Council measured the wrong things," Maya replied. "They looked at reaction time and natural weapons. They never considered training, experience, or what happens when you threaten something a human cares about." Dr. Korvac studied the bodies around them. "You killed over 200 fighters in less than 30 minutes. "I removed threats to coalition personnel," Maya corrected. "The fact that those threats happened to be armed separatists is irrelevant. They were between me and my objective." Word of the incident spread through the coalition fleet like wildfire. The slow humans had demonstrated a killing efficiency that surpassed anything in the military databases. Maya's after-action report became required reading at tactical schools throughout the galaxy. 3 days later, Maya stood in the same white room where she had been evaluated months earlier. The same alien judges sat at the same table, but their attitudes had changed completely. Vec, the blue-skinned Kavari who had classified humans as too slow for combat, looked distinctly uncomfortable. "Commander Torres," he began carefully, "we have reviewed your performance on Mining Station Beta 7. Your methods were highly effective." Maya said nothing. She had learned that silence often made aliens more nervous than words. "We believe there may have been flaws in our original assessment protocols," Vec continued. "Our evaluation criteria focused on biological advantages rather than other factors." "Other factors?" Maya asked quietly. "Training, experience, tactical adaptability, the ability to integrate tools and weapons into combat effectiveness." Vec consulted his tablet with obvious discomfort. "We measured natural abilities, without considering how your species might enhance those abilities through preparation and skill." Another judge, the insectoid creature with sharp mandibles, spoke up. "The Separatists on that station were professional soldiers. They had studied our combat methods and prepared countermeasures for each species' natural advantages." "But they had never fought humans before," Maya observed. "Exactly." The judge's mandibles clicked nervously. "They expected predictable attack patterns based on biological capabilities. Your approach was unprecedented," Maya almost smiled. "We call it thinking outside the box. Humans are good at that." Vex stood up and addressed her formally. "The Galactic Council has created a new classification specifically for human military personnel. You will be designated as tool-integrated rapid elimination specialists." "That's a fancy way of saying we're good at killing people quickly," Maya translated. "In essence, yes." Vex's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "We are offering you command of the Coalition's first all-human rapid response unit. Your mission parameters will be simple. When speed of elimination is paramount, human operators will be deployed. Maya thought about her friends back on the supply depot, all of them wasted on inventory work because aliens thought they were too slow to fight. What about the other humans currently assigned to support roles? They will be transferred to combat units immediately, Vec assured her. We are reconsidering our entire approach to human military integration. 2 weeks later, Maya stood on the bridge of the coalition battleship Swift Justice, watching her new team prepare for their first official mission. 12 human operators, all of them pulled from supply depots and maintenance stations. All of them eager to prove what their species could do. The mission was simple. A separatist cell had taken control of a diplomatic station and was holding alien ambassadors hostage. The separatists demanded political concessions in exchange for the hostages' lives. They had threatened to kill one ambassador every hour until their demands were met. Standard boarding operation, Maya told her team over the COM system. Fast. Entry, eliminate all hostiles, secure the hostages. Remember, these separatists have studied alien combat methods, but they have never faced human operators. Rules of engagement? Asked one of her team members. Anyone pointing a weapon at coalition personnel is a valid target, Maya replied. Anyone threatening harm to innocent civilians is a valid target. Anyone stupid enough to get between us and our objectives is a valid target. The team moved through the diplomatic station like ghosts. They used maintenance tunnels, service corridors, and ventilation shafts to reach their objectives. The separatists had prepared for alien warriors who would charge through the front door, using natural weapons and predictable tactics. Instead, they faced humans who could adapt to any situation and turn any environment into a weapon. The hostage rescue took 11 minutes from breach to all clear. 37 separatists dead, 0 hostages harmed, no human casualties. The alien ambassadors who had been rescued could not believe what they had witnessed. How did you move so fast? One of them asked Maya as they waited for medical evacuation. We didn't move fast, Maya corrected. We moved smart. There's a difference. The mission reports made their way back to the Galactic Council, where they were studied by military analysts who still struggled to understand what had happened. The humans had not demonstrated superior speed or strength. They had shown something far more dangerous: the ability to think, adapt, and overcome any obstacle through skill and determination. New training programs were established at military academies throughout the galaxy. Alien warriors studied human tactics, trying to understand how a species with no natural weapons could be so devastatingly effective in combat, but the lessons were lost on most of them. They focused on the techniques and equipment, missing the most important factor. Humans fought differently when someone they cared about was in danger. They became something beyond their normal limitations, something that could not be measured by biological capabilities or reaction time tests. Maya's unit was deployed 7 more times in the following months. Each mission was completed with the same ruthless efficiency. Each enemy learned too late that they had underestimated what humans could do. When they stopped playing by the rules, the aliens had said humans were too slow to kill effectively. Maya had proven them wrong in the most decisive way possible. She had emptied an entire station of enemies before their alarm. Systems could even register the threat. The galaxy was still learning what that meant, but Maya already knew. Humans were not naturally superior fighters. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors who refused to accept defeat, no matter what the odds, and that, she reflected as she watched her team prepare for their next mission, was the only advantage they had ever needed.